And here we go. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome into America in Crisis once again. With me tonight, we were able to get and resolve all the disruptions that we had the other evening. So, America, meet Jeffrey Strong. And thank you for coming in with me, Strong Man Strong. I appreciate you, guy. So,
No problem.
look, yeah, thanks. You know, as we were talking, it's what they call us in the green room prior to going live. There's a lot going on in America, and hopefully we can touch base on some things that will give some information to the public and give them some good focus of what's really going on around us through all these false flag and negative types of no better way to say it, but lies of information to keep us all huddled against each other in ways. There's times, Jeff, where I try to talk to people and tell them that, and they don't want to understand it, that this is actually military operations infiltrated social media, planning information that fights against each of us. And they focus on that direction of splitting us apart, dividing us more, and giving us hope at the same time with other narratives, such as letters and numbers that people follow and want to believe of a hope. And everybody says, like today, my phone was ringing off the hook this morning. To make a long story short, I couldn't even answer everybody. That's why I wanted to do some open lines. So anybody joining in, if you want to dial in 724-954-1193, please read it on the screen. And again, Jeff Strong is with me this evening. And you know me, the host, Michael Anthony, Studio 10 O'clock Talks, America in Crisis. Be the voice, be the difference in America. That's all we ask. Stand with us, stand strong, all for one for all. You mentioned a little earlier, why don't we, while the group's forming and people are starting to step in to watch, maybe you can give us a little bit of enlightenment about where you are and what's going on for the elections tomorrow. If you could just be brief.
I will be very brief. Georgia is going to have an election. The polling right now out of Georgia has got Kemp ahead of somebody else, Purdue, which is false polling, false advertising. In my state of Alabama, we're trying to get rid of Mel Brooks because he's been just a swamp creature.
Yeah, I've heard some bad negative things. Jonathan Garcia keeps me pretty well and has kept me pretty well informed about some of the things going on in the southern area states.
It's nasty and very nasty on the radio, and they're using the old 2016. I recognize they're clipping Lyon saying Trump's endorsing me, which he's not, trying to get people to. You've got to pay attention before you vote. Don't worry about the color of the T-shirt, what the man's wearing. Worry about what do you know he's going to do.
Agreed.
And look at common sense. There's no common sense.
Well, who would you suggest is the best candidate in your mind from everything you've learned? If I may be able to just, I'm not asking who you're voting for, but what do you see as the best qualification, the best man for the job at this point?
I look for somebody that has run a business before, like I have for the last umpteen years. I look for somebody that's had to make decisions and common sense decisions, have worked with people, have had a workforce, fired people, and that's not afraid to be, because believe me, it's a little difficult to fire somebody when you know that you've got their whole family that you're trying to support. Yeah. With a paycheck every week.
Yeah, and we see what's going on in America. I mean, we're still not at a good point. I think they're inflating the numbers when they talk about unemployment. The problem, we have a lot of people who've in the millions who walked off the jobs due to mandates months back. They were not eligible for state workmen's unemployment, eligibilities. So that's sad. So they get to wipe off millions of the numbers that should actually be sitting up very high, telling a difference of a picture of truth. But yet, because they had to make a very rough decision to say, accept this pressurized mandate, or, give up my life, which they have done for us. And that's why I have to come back here, even when I'm tired and weary from a long day, or 2 or 3 or 4 days and 4 or 5 shows into the week at the third day of the week. But you got to find that extra bit of strength to come out, because what people have given up in America, and a lot of our patriots and patriots to be are coming back, who want to try to help. I don't think they truly understand the focus of what the United States government has gotten away with the last 15 months. But, to just disqualify people from unemployment benefits because they don't agree with something that has no constitutional law, because we know mandate does not mean law. It's an opinion of something, a narrative of something that sounds important. And that's why I've always used to talk about words of empowerment and how words have powers. And when manipulated, they're even worse. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you actually stuck me back to when I first started talking to you guys last year, because it was about July of last year, first week of July. The big corporations, believe it or not, banks and financial institutions, they will go to your Facebook page. I don't care how private you have it, they will break through it. They've been doing it. I've already gotten attacked with my business, bad, but I'm used to getting attacked. I really don't give a flying. I could go sell hot dogs on the corner and make a living. It doesn't matter to me. It's just the fact that when I see it in my face, and it's there. I have attorneys looked at it. I have other people that I'm in business with that looked at it. Nobody could believe it. And I said, something's going on here. So I talked with somebody that's in a financial institution very high up. And also the supply shortage was manipulated back a long time ago. It's not going to stop until the end of this year at the soonest.
Yeah, we can only hope for that because of the destruction that has taken place throughout of this design that they have, put in front of us. I agree with that. And I understand that there's like 18 businesses, large businesses that do food processing and preparations that keep America supplied. Maybe not all by the best foods of choice, but they are processing plants, and however, it is food. But so I heard 18, 2 with airplane crash. There's a lot more to the picture here than we'll ever know, but I think you would agree with that part.
I do, and I also see it in the supply industry of steel, aluminum, plastic bags, fuel. Everything surrounds fuel, and they have stopped all leases in the Gulf of Mexico and on all federal lands. They just shut them down.
Right. And they couldn't even make good comments back to what they were doing, because I saw some questioning pertaining to what you just brought up about how they are contemplating, but they did not want to answer what anything meant in the language written with their own writing. So when the Dems got up to sit to answer some questions, and some of the representatives who the Dems placed in places to testify, it just fell apart on them. And like the man said, we can agree to disagree, and you're going to disagree all day with me, and I don't have to agree with you. So these are those places, and you're right. If you manipulate the oil, any type of crude at all, not that, first off, it has to do with medicines, making a plastic baggies and just essential baggies, freezer baggies, all these other different things, garbage bags, things people never even think about. The effects of the ingeniousness that man 50 years ago came up with on how to take us into this realm of plastics being special, but then taking that special away, and now that they're so negative, which I guess in a way, if you don't mind me doing this, we'll jump into the theory of why Michael Anthony, of all people, would have started putting out warnings 2 weeks ago. because what I'm going to tell you tonight is things that you probably know because I've made mention and I make them disappear. I make mention, I make them disappear because I'm trying to protect the platform, trying to give you enough enlightenment and enough information to say, do some research, find out what I found out, because I knew about it around May 10th, but May 14th was the biggest date of importance, where a 56-minute audio was supplied to the right people of the United States of America, where it was analyzed, the language was deciphered, people looked into it, the wording's right, their actions are bad, their actions are towards America. And then we have now the military, Milley wanting to send the last of maybe what we even have of some of our most special designs and weaponry to Ukraine. Over 100K of military soldiers out of the country. So we're basically already got our pants unbuttoned and the zipper down. To make it worse, now they're going to start, as I said to you a little earlier, Jeff, how they're going to be doing this gender reassignment now for ones who may be in a little bit of fear to be on the front line of war. So what are we losing here? We're losing a country. We're losing our military. We're losing our weaponry systems. We're giving money. We should own Ukraine.
Something else popped up. I don't want to swing too far off of it, but it has to do with the military. Males getting vasectomies now are getting encouraged, by the way, in the military.
It's amazing, but I tell you what, I don't care if I ever. No, I'm not going to go into that. No, it's not something that I'm going to consider, in life, about making choices that some people feel they need to do. And I understand if somebody looks in the mirror and sees himself as something else, I get that. I don't understand the punishment of the push. Why keep pushing stuff down our throat? You could be very right. And in many cases, I would agree with people. Do look like a lady. Though, hey, that song was not brought up and put in place for any particular reason. Maybe it was, in a way, a narrative around what one is into, what one looks upon themselves as, or how one wants to be. None of us really care about that. We were living fine with everybody doing what they were doing prior to all this, and it needs to stop. It's gone too far because it's a toxic disease for humanity to be trapped in these negative scenarios that we are. So jumping from that back in, China has ideas of where they'd like to be, what they would like to do, they would like to do it with, and every bit of it is about penetrating the United States of America and by fall. And what does that mean when we think about it? Well, the fact that Trump has been fighting so hard might be one of the facts. And you might agree with this, Jeff.
Yes, I do.
So if you can destroy the election by creating a war, they will do it. And they will make it look like they are part of the design, which I'm sure that they will be. Joe's never going to give up his position because he's the puppet in place. And he's under control because he's one of the persons that have been bought. So he has to navigate through this no matter what. So whatever happens, they will probably make Biden look like the innocent guy that got shammed by the world while China tries to take advantage of our weakness that they have created for them. So we can never forget that. But most importantly, America, what you must understand, this 56-minute audio is a direct threat to the United States of America, and it has a date and time marked on it. So I would just like to say to everybody out there, the best I can, from all the love that I can extend to everyone, is I hope to God this is all just a bad dream, but I don't see it that way.
I don't either.
And I think everybody needs to do more research, understand, share the informations that you have the same way I always try to bring. I got laughed at. I did. I actually got laughed at. And that's on a couple of my, release postings that I released. And some people say, well, what happened to your posting? Did they get pulled down? No, I'm pulling them down because I'm trying to protect the platform. I can't always be online, and I know there's a support mechanism when you do something like this people do want to see some type of support and ongoing, because it's a daily ongoing occurrence of negativity that we live within. And I don't know how to do it unless I can throw some posts up, throw out some information, hope that people do their due diligence on their own, find out more, and help me make better corrections, analogies, and more. Because honestly, I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody when I have nobody there. And you guys are the real heroes, the ones that want the information, that deep dive into this show, that watch us, that watch me, that watch other program formats, that want to support me and other people. So, I do have to make them come and go. And what I find out is when I leave things linger in the groups, when I leave things linger on my own face page, that's when I get attacked. And that's when it seems like, we're going to smack the hand that's messing up. And I can't take that away. So the only way I know to do it is give very limited amounts of times of information out, pull them back, withdraw them. But that's where we're at, America. We're about to falter, according to everything that I understand, and that will probably come out even more. Listen to the tough guy, Alex Jones or AJ. One of those guys will give some very in-depth information. I don't get into the in-depth parts, but I do want you to know that we have a lot riding on this, especially when the United States pants are about to drop to their ankles. When you have every military resource available to the United States shipped out, assigned, you have nothing here. The defense is the Patriots. It's us, Jeff. It's me and you. It's everybody that walked into the room. Let me say hello to Earl. Let me say hello to Randy Griesenbach. Beth McCord's in. Todd Senior's in. Joe Fox. A few people to say. My eyes. Do you see how I'm shading myself? The glow of the thing on my eyes killing me. Maxine, Larry Collins is in. And a few other people. So, do what you can to share out the information, guys. This is very valuable. It's pertinent. And I'm giving you direct information if you want to go to exclusive channel who does the very best that they can for everybody. Not everybody likes the voice, but you got to like Alex Jones when he's not lying. And he doesn't lie. He doesn't lie. He tells the truth. And he's so bold about it. I think he angers people.
Can I tell you something I was taught when I was 14? Can you still see me?
I can see you, yeah.
Okay. Well,
I got to look down to do two things. I apologize.
Oh, no, I can't see you right now. I pressed the wrong button. It's normal. 14 years old, I was told by somebody who basically in the Marine Corps in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
In Korea. I was told very specifically, and it was drilled in my mind, Americans are lazy, and that's the way Asians view Americans. And also that China, especially, will play chess while Americans play checkers. And they have been planning this for a very, very long time.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is straight out of the horse's mouth. This is not secondhand information. And I was also told, I hope you don't see it in your lifetime. Right.
And I agree with you how things have lingered up because, I'm the terrorist, that, which I accept with honors. And I'll take all awards for doing it because you're right. Depending upon what you were allowing one's interest to be within or how open your mind was, you would find everything you just explained was information coming out. And they always have weighed down on us. But the theory behind that, in my opinion, is it's everything that the white supremacist politicians have, and I don't know the word off the top of my head, but have imposed on people, controlled on people's lives. Black people have been held back, of course, but you also have many others that have been through slavery and different types of narratives of, like you're just not good enough to be part of them. So we can do what we need to do to keep you assigned to slave labor because it's a better position for you because it puts us in a higher place on our side. And that's how they do it. And a lot of people don't even realize it's a mafia service inside a mafia service. That's why they're dealing with the mafia in Ukraine. But it's also been a proven fact here, just like when you're building buildings. And I bet you Donald John knows all about this because he's been a man who builds high rises and does all these other great feats that people just dream about. And there's probably only a couple handfuls in the world of people. Well, now probably I would say more, but would understand where I'm coming from because every dictator, when it came to politics, had their hands in on every contract. So if it was for the pouring of the cement, there was a contract, there was a kickback. If there was a contract for the steel, then there was a contract for the kickback for the steel. And if there was a one for the glass, then it would pit. And where's it all come out of? How is this so right? How is it so right? United States Steel. Where Andrew Carnegie, Pittsburgh Plate Glass, United States Steel. It's everything come out of Pennsylvania. And I know you're 100% right. And a lot of Pennsylvanians know it too, but it's corrupt. It's all freaking so corrupt.
It's just like I have a county north of me, 2 counties up, that I know if I do a job there, I have to put an extra $75 on profit just because I know who I have to give it to.
Exactly.
Literally. And if I go into another town that is 45-minute drive from me, I had better have an extra $100 on me to give it to somebody over there because I've gone there 20 times and had to give out 8 times because they caught me. I don't go over there until Sunday.
I've been through things like that through building inspections in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. All right. And I can name a lot of names. I can embarrass a lot of you at home right now. The truth of the matter is I'm not going to play dirt on that because I'm not a snitch. But I can agree with you. I can agree with you because that's the placement that we have been put in. And that's how this negative part of the assembly of the negativity works. And we can focus on many parts of it. But, you know, when it comes down to the building of America, that was the foundation of the corruption. Don't look at it. It's not the stock market. It was once the foundation of America was built and they made pretty much everything they could make off it because there was a point that we were at a pinnacle. Now there's a new pinnacle. There's always a new horizon. What comes around goes around. Some people say every 100 years. Some people say every 50 years. You'll see a complete turnaround. And you do see that. It does somewhat work like that. It's a shame that people cannot conduct themselves to care for the properties and things that they have because we would not have to do that. And maybe then we could focus more importantly on safe streets without potholes and speed bumps wouldn't have to be put in, you know, and maybe people would be paying attention to the laws. But it's how they direct the corruption and they lead the way in America, in my mind, is how we get an end result in ways that we do. But bad parenting brings bad children. And I'm not trying to say everybody is a bad parent. Some people just don't agree with the ethics that you might, you know, agree with or that and you and I are different, probably have different outlooks on that. But we can agree to disagree, go home friends and know that we talk about things we liked.
If we can't agree to disagree, there's not gonna be any getting along. Period.
Right. Hey, Jeffrey, Dominique is in. Hi, brother. How are you? Now, here's somebody could make Jeffrey. If you don't leave, I'd like to put you on the spot. But no, this is where the old narrative, and I don't want to do this to these guys. Wow, you know, I love these guys that they do such good things for people. I'm not going to place them out there, but I can tell you, we only touched on one little particular spot, and something else just came into mind of how big and how corrupt it was. And I like to think that the correction has been made and that there's fair game for every business out there, because especially when we have such a negative animosity of this new government against small business people. But, you know, there was a time that every cop had their hands out for something in order for you to tow a car or anything else. There was always, they needed that coffee and donut money, you know, which they never paid for at Dunkin' Donuts anyway. They walked in, they had a badge. It was free service of no charge. Don't even tip the girl. And they didn't for the most part.
You want to hear something really funny?
Always.
This has not been approved by the DOJ yet because it has to be. There's one large company on the West Coast just bought every single company but two that import door hardware and bathroom accessories and framed mirrors. They purchased all of them except for two. The two that they did not purchase have jacked their prices up 25%. So that gives me a warning sign after we've already gone from $6 to $8 on one item. They're just doing it to run the price right up to the American consumer. And
Right.
it's cheap.
And
it's
you know,
cheap.
and by demand right now, the demand is high when you look at all the devastation from the tornadoes and just simplified things that are happening with this very bad new climate thing that we're going through.
Blackwater has already stepped in to purchase and control housing for rental properties for their corporation.
Are you talking about BlackRock?
BlackRock, yeah, BlackRock.
Vanguard, BlackRock, right? And you know, here you have a family. The guy at the top of the pinnacle of the eye of the 13, you know, the Rothschild, the Luciferian, the one that sits in his castle that never leaves, that engages with this guy. Who superficially plans all this stuff. And I say superficially because I don't want to actually point a finger down his throat or into his eyes, although his eye sockets need to be, you know, but nevertheless, one of the things that I failed to bring up that I should mention to everybody that will make a great importance, if everything that's come to light about May 14th comes to light, as it probably will, because they condition us before they do, so expect it to occur. And take every precaution you can. And I'll just leave that at that. But if they shut the waterways down, if you watch the water and they shut the waterways down, then nothing will come into America. We're already going to be bare shelved to the bones on food supplies and everything else that we're going to need in life. So you better take heed and really make preparations this time around. It's not just about monkeypox or the fact up in Pennsylvania here. I don't know if you know this, but about 4 or 5 months ago, I did a story on 2 trucks that crashed, one in Texas, one in Pennsylvania. They both had monkeys on them.
Really?
It's a true story. And yeah, I did it. I mean, if anybody wants to reflect back and see how early I did this story, it's just coming out now because it's the monkeypox craze. So anyway, the case scenario was that, you know, 3 monkeys could not be found. So they went around, knocked on everybody's doors, and they said, hey, look, you know, we have an issue, some animals, and we're not sure which kind were in there. So one lady walked over to this truck, and they told her, well, there's just cats in those cages. And so he wasn't looking. She walked over, started tapping on the cage. This isn't said by me. It's said by somebody high up on media as well. And it wasn't a cat. It was like a 3-pound monkey. So these were test lab monkeys being delivered to some place somewhere in Pennsylvania, according to what we understand where the route was, where the truck was headed to. But it went off the road. And within an hour, the same type of issue happened in Texas. Now, I don't know how you can weigh those two same instances of those two trucks being filled with African monkeys for testing, going to labs where they both crash. 3 monkeys got away. They claimed that they got them. Don't know if they did, but they said that they were highly contagious. And if anybody did come in contact, that they should be checked immediately. I don't know if they ever got the 3. I'm just saying, you know, if it was humans, they'd have got them. But monkeys and trees and as diverse as they are, the possibility is maybe they could be elusive and not be caught. I don't know. But this is something that just weighs on my mind that, you know, I did a story on this. This is mind blowing. And now it's the monkeypox. But we also seen things where smallpox was found in laboratory fridges here in Pennsylvania as well. And I did stories on those findings. The same as when I did stories on the University of Pittsburgh here in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where they were doing and conducting the taking of parts of aborted babies and selling the parts with a menu. And Ron Paul was the only one that backed me up. And he backed me. I did this story before him. Send it to those guys.
busted it too.
I sent it to those guys, said, please talk about this. Well, Ron Paul made some commentary and did talk about it, but it vanished, just like everything vanished, the impeachments and everything else where we're at in life. And I don't understand when we see an America in crisis, and I'm so proud of that name, because to me, it speaks of intelligence and purity of a mess of an environment that we're living in. I guess the best way to say it. Poor wording, but nevertheless, you can't always be strong. But here we are again, captured in this whole scenario of negativity and placement for fear for everybody. Which let me let you have the board.
No, that's fine. You just some of these things that are going on as far as even the COVID starting to remind me of stuff that came out in Hollywood years ago, like the movie The Outbreak. That movie was with a monkey. Right. It had a disease, it scratched somebody, and then it just spread like wildfire, and they had to contain a whole town, and the whole time it was a U.S. government bioweapon that was released. Now, I think of Dr. Fauci and what he's done and his involvement with AIDS and the Clinton Foundation and their involvement. It's all in the pharmaceuticals. It's all about money and power. They don't care about the average person at all. They got their $20 a quart ice cream and their $20,000 Sub-Zero refrigerator at home with their wall around their house.
What the heck? And you know, someone mentioned 39 monkeys, so I apologize. Thank you for the correction. You could, in fact, be more correct than I am. I'm going with brain fog of old memory of a time gone past 4 or 5 months ago when I did it. But what the hell's in the ice cream that makes it worth $20? I mean, are they getting fentanyl?
I don't know if that cocaine went down because of open border. I haven't checked it lately, but
I know it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. It just, you know, but you're right. They got these fascinating living accommodations, and here we are, just regular people living out of a Westinghouse refrigerator. And you know what I find even more suspicious in the world? These smart appliances know when to die. They know when to trip on. I still have refrigerators that are 50, 75 years old. I have a red one. It's 75 years old with the little ice cooler in the core up at camp. I plug it in every time I want to use it. It's ice cold. It works every time. And I'm not embarrassed to say.
Handle?
Yeah.
Handle? Yeah, the good ones.
Oh man, I still have it. I painted it red. I thought I'd make it look like Coca-Cola. Now I want to change the color after their ethic of what they took and what their stance was and the money that they get, the BLM. And I'm not talking about the Bureau of Land Management. I'm talking about the three queens that we all love so much in America, of course. You know, I got some notes here. Let me go through here. In the meantime, he has been on here like these sons of bitches, 2-day warranty and kaput. He has been so voiced. Thanks for your voice, brother. I really do appreciate when people come in. And, you know, if anyone wants to call, please look at the screen, 724-954-1193. I am Michael Anthony, sitting with Jeff Strong. We will listen to your commentary, try to help you theorize. We won't be able to stay online with everybody for an hour per phone call, but anybody's welcome to call in if you want to. You can start any time on that you'd like to as well. Now, we're also finding out that we have submarines out there that they're starting to talk about, and 2 of them collided. That didn't get out there. There's also things coming up where they're saying that the water quality is so bad in the oceans that the fish are just dying. And that's not what's going on. They have been doing small nuclear hypersonic implosions of nukes underwater. And that is what's killing the fish. And we know it because there are people who deal with water, deal with fish, and they are trying to do the best they can as scientists to collaborate with what makes sense. And everybody's reporting these implosive waters coming up. So we are doing something under the water that is actually affecting the I want to call it the aquatic life of what is another part of our food source.
I'm curious about that because 10, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, the U.S. and regular people were looking at the mercury level in seafood.
Right.
Has the mercury? I haven't heard anything about that, and I used to hear about it all the time. I'm close enough to a research facility on Dolphin Island that I'm probably going to head down that way, and within the next month, go stay at a friend of mine's condo on the beach and go spend some time down there during the week and do a little history. Marine biology's always fascinated me.
Yeah, I get where you're at there. I want to be a world encyclopedia before I go on from this earth to try to find out anything and everything they can. That's why I do all the platforms I do, because there's reasons why we face everything we face. There's suppressions that surround everything that we live in, that we face. History, as religion. I mean, I could go on in the categorizations of how many different areas that they suppress us from the importance. And that's why I said to people, I think the other night I mentioned it, parents should be suing the college boards and the schools that their children that they paid. And I'm talking, what do some of these schools cost? $25,000, $30,000 a year? It costs you a quarter
45 to 65.
Yeah.
It's
high.
high.
People don't even make that a year, okay?
And the government subsidizes the college. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's always additional monies. There's never enough to run to college with the amount of money that's appropriated by the dues of the parents for their child coming to get an education, as well as they mark up the dorms and do everything else that surrounds them. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And then you get a fake education. You get a false education, a false sense of education, a non-reality of truth of the education that they don't want anybody to really go out and talk about anymore. And maybe at this point in time that we are at, if we are really going to be, the United States is going to be violated by the doing of our own United States government, which every indication shows the proof of that beyond 100% and more, that it's like death to America and death to anybody in America that has a different thought from anything that we believe. They owe us people, and there's not a darn thing that we can do through this control mechanism. Many people say, how do they get away with this? First off, I don't know the whole narrative of how that works, but I do know that everything is very deep and there's numbers of people. But I would think, at least for what I could say in the United States of America, if we have adults, at least 250 million adults, we should not have any worries about the complications of a few thousand people that are responsible for dismantling this issue.
Exactly.
But yet we stay reserved, we stay patriotic, we stand with peace and love, religion, Christianity, and we're being effed.
Michael, it's learned behavior at this point to me, because I was 21 years old when I started my business, and people would look at me and, oh, you're 21 years old, you can't start a business. Tell me I can't do something, I will prove you wrong.
Exactly. And that's why, I do appreciate a lot of young who are out there doing what they do. But again, even for what they're doing now in this time, and here, I'm going to focus on something to you. Let's reflect back. This is how big this picture is. May 14th, 56-minute dialogue that's now been released saying that America is definitely under a threat. The narrative of America is going to be under what is going to be known as the last war, World War III. The last war, the words that they even used. If they shut the waterways down coming into the United States and they stop all these evergreens, if you want to call them, bringing in cargo and supplies to America, that's part of our first defeat, because hasn't it always been said, not even, I didn't start this creation, but the one who controls the food controls the world. That's one of the narratives of it. When you go through these steps of it, where was I going with this? Let me think for a second, Jeff. I apologize. And everybody else out there in America land.
Well, you're talking about the waterways, the water being shut off too. It makes me think back at why George W. Bush and the Bush family heavily invested tons and tons of money into the Gulf of Mexico and Texas on saltwater conversion to freshwater drinking water. They are the 100% owners of that system.
They also, and George Bush Jr. also bought in Paraguay, one of their largest freshwater reserve. I don't know if it was like a park or something, but they bought it and they own the rights to all that water that's sitting there in that place.
Because they can actually bottle it and distribute it out and refill it back up and control.
And it won't be for the humanity of doing what's right for people. It'll be for what is purposeful for them to. And how much riches do you need before you have enough? If that is the case scenario, but I do know that was done. I even looked up the date, time, and when the purchase was made, who it was made through, who did the deal, and it reflected to me to that. I had a little bit of insight of information what you were talking about, and it goes back to the place when they were cleaning up due to the hurricane that destroyed the outside oil rigs. You remember when the first oil crisis came and the price will only rise for a little bit and drop. We just need it for the rebuilding purposes and to keep America strong. And it never went back down. Nope. And that's because people do not acknowledge, they tolerate slavery of being indoctrinated into heavily taxed and penalized scenarios of this government.
It would not take, but it would take a percentage of people to buck back to the system. And people say, oh, I don't want to lose my job. Well, if you think about it, businesses start and they stop and they change, they diversify all the time. You're not guaranteed anything in life. You have to make it yourself.
Right.
And people are conditioned on, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to go against my boss. I'm going to sit here and take I know somebody that's personally that was very much abused by her boss. I knew the guy. I worked for him for 15 years and finally had enough of him. He wanted to be, I'm the one with the gold. You come to me first. And I'm not going to do that. I treat everybody the same.
Right.
People are just scared. We have been coddled and spoiled, and the education system did not help.
No, you're right. And where government stronged arm people, other people filled, and those scenarios as well. If they wanted to keep you down on welfare, they controlled the narrative to make that work. And these are some of those other ideas of thought that we come up with. There's a comment in here, and this is not to bring up any disrespect from Marty. I think it was from Marty. Let me go through here. Those bastards will soon find out what they have been opposing is not only us, but God. God is going to judge many of them in a big way. Miracles coming as well. Well, I think one of the true things in the books that are written, you can take this from a pastor, his name's Mike, is that you have been provided with all the tools. And as we know, if we look into history, prayers always mean everything, but don't always get us everywhere. And it could be the fact, if we read the passages correctly, it may be just be saying, and I could be wrong here, but I don't think I am, that we are the ones with the capabilities, the tools, the knowledge, the strength, and the hope that can correct anything. And we in history have proven that. And that is how America stands supreme from everybody else. So there could be truth to what you're saying. And I respect everybody's thoughts about religion or anything else for that matter. I always say, don't judge me, I won't judge you. But I don't want to get into a political scenario of it. Let's just hope that we're both right. It's better to have all hands in on deck, because what we're talking about here is one of the most catastrophic scenarios that the United States would never want to have to deal with, at least for the people of the United States. And again, we've been sold out, and it disgusts me on every level. But there's also, so I don't know if you have any of the comments up on your side. Do you have any of the comments up on your side?
I can try if I don't.
No, you don't. You don't have to. Don't worry. I also want to say hi to Joe Fox again, if I didn't say hi to you. And Karen Herman, thank you for stopping in. And she says it needs to stop. I already told people 15 months ago. No one did anything. And yes, go back to the first day I started because I got jammed and jarred from another platform. But no, if you go and do it, a lot of us were on. A lot of us already typically figured out what was going on. And I don't think any of us were wrong. Now I think we just need to figure out how to better come together. I don't want to dog anybody that has some type of good function, a fundamental function in mind that creates a statement. As long as it's purposeful and you're not out there GoFunding me accounts to create a narrative to sell T-shirts and hats, and because you know what, I don't want to buy your hat, I don't want to buy your flag because it has your logo. I want to do something constructive. I want you to do more that's constructive. I'm not weighing on anybody or judging anybody for what their missions are and what you're trying to accomplish. But those all missions aside now, when there's a war coming to our front door with hypersonic nuclear weaponry systems that they have, and listen, we also know that they have stockpiled them for 4 years, as well as 65% of the foods of the United States and globally. And China is hoarding it. And we know it. And I just lost my guest. He'll figure his way back in. Any comments or anybody want to call in, please do it now while I am alone here. 724-954-1193. I am Michael Anthony. This is part of Studio 10 Broadcasting, 10 o'clock talks. And we do talk sometimes about everything here. We love you all to death all the time. We really do. We enjoy, and I enjoy all the time that I can spend with people and try to go over everything with. And let's see if we can bring Mr. Jeff Strong back in here. Okay, so. Oh, that didn't work good. We're gonna get him. We're here. He's trying to get back in. I could see the digital green room working and whatnot. So listen, guys, I'm not against any of your causes. And I just want to say the best thing to do is to focus in the narrative of where the war really is. We may need you more at the border. And I'm not talking about just at the southern border. We have Chinese that have been doing training campaigns with Canada's military system. So we might need you at the north. We might need you at the west. We might need you in the east. The point is, I think we need to start protecting our shorelines the best we can. We have a very short span of time, and we have a very short span to the election. And I think what they know is this. I think the facts kind of surround this as a focal point, that if they can do anything to disrupt what they know is coming, it will be their defeat when we take control of the Senate and Congress and some of the other key elements of positions, such as governors and so forth. Then they have a serious problem with us because we are winning. We are defeating them. And we better be prepared for something more than another convoy or something going across America. And again, I am not trying to criticize you. I love your idea. I love your strength. But I think the focus now needs, with this information coming out, everybody needs to go back, relook and re-strategize here. And let's work together to do something that we can do to make America better and safer. Let's face it. We have at least 50 million children in this country that need protection, need parents, and need solvency. They need their nation. They need what we stand for. Us as parents going around the country doing other things right now may not be the most helpful thing. So I think we just need to congregate better. And anyone that has any great ideas, please post them. Feel free. Send them to me. Tag me on my page. Tag Jeff's page. Tag Beth's page. By the way, Beth, I guess you're out doing a bunch of, and I got calls coming in from North Carolina. All right. So great. Finally, a call from a voice. I love when a voice calls.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Studio 10 Broadcasting, you have Michael Anthony. All right, give me 1 second here. I got to turn up your volume through the master service here. There you go. I got you now. I can hear you coming through my mini headset. How are you? Who's calling? Where are you from? North Carolina?
That's right, sir. Yeah, this is Marty, trucker here.
Hey, trucker. How are you, brother?
Doing good.
Good.
I've just been listening to you guys just a little bit here. Saw Beth McCord pop it up and clicked on it. And, you're right. We all got to do something. And then here's the thing. I was part of that convoy for about a month and came back here to North Carolina and got involved heavily with some other groups, started networking together with them. Here's my thing. We gotta do whatever we can to open up the eyes of other people. That's what we're doing with some of these rallies. We're creating events where, look, some people say, well, all we're doing is just running around burning diesel. Okay, no. You know what? When people see the flags, when people see the signs, the banners, and then they start getting, yeah, that's what I've been wanting to do. Yeah, you're right. You're saying what we've been wanting to say. I was up there in Hagerstown, Maryland, and we had several hundred trucks up there in the beginning, and there were people coming from all over. There was one guy even came from Idaho, another one from Montana. They said they saw what was happening. They just had to be a part of this. They came down with all kinds of supplies. But here's the thing. So many people came up to me, including law enforcement, families, all kinds of people, just as they did to many other truckers, just saying, we just appreciate you so much, and here's something for you. I don't care if it was oranges, food, a couple bucks, whatever. And I said, you know what, thank you. And they said, no, you're the one making the sacrifice. I said, no, this is everybody. We are all doing it. We are all involved. We got to overthrow this tyranny. I shouldn't say that too loud. We got to fight this tyranny. This tyranny is tearing us down. We've been taxed forever out of our wits, and they are trying to ruin everybody's life. And so it's not just get rid of the mandates. That's a whole corruption thing right in there. But anyway, here's the thing. I'm all about trying to get people to wake up, buying videos, information, spreading it out, books, pamphlets, whatever. That's what we were doing in D.C. We were passing out pamphlets like crazy, getting people to read stuff. This is what's going on. This is for you. This is your freedom. Your constitutional rights are being violated. So there you go. And then the other part of it is spiritual warfare. There is prayer. And, the Bible says these demonic strongholds are over governments. And so we can also pray against those demonic strongholds with the word of God, which is the sword of the spirit, which I have to do that too. That's part of my life.
Well, I appreciate that. And as a pastor, I understand your feelings there. But I'm also a pastor of research in ancient history and religions and more. I'm not here to debate any of that with you on that part. But I will say this. I thank you as much as I would thank a soldier for serving our country and doing what you've done. I don't know where and what you did that made a change in America, but I'm sure that you changed some people's lives. I'm looking for a bigger analogy of a curement to make us all come together as you are, and not to say that there's more passion in my thought, because there's not. It's as equal as yours is as strong. But the fact is that we need to do something different when we have information as vital as what, I shared earlier in the show pertaining to May 14th and the 56-minute video, which is a planned attack to come to the West, which is us, the West. If this is to land on our soils, we will be sometimes I don't pronounce it right, but strategically aimed for certain positions and places to create more havoc, such as power grids, oil wells, water resources. And of course, if you have nuclear heads on the top, it's disastrous to breathe, as well as it's 10-folds, 100-folds worse than the climate spraying that they're using on us. So again, everything that you're saying, I understand. And there was a moment of strength for that. You prepared us now. In your own way, you may not even know it, but I do believe you prepared us, things that you did to take us into another place, a worse place. So what do we do now? Let me just reject it back to you and say, with that information, knowing that we have such the possibility of an event like that, what are your feelings on addressing it that way? Do we go to our borders? Do we go to the north, south, east, and west and stand strong in unity? What do we do?
Good question. First of all, I did not get into your show when you were talking about the May 14th deal, so I'm not sure what all that was. I know that there's all kinds.
It's a planned attack from China that's 100% real to us here in the West, America. While our military depletes the rest of our military personnel as well as weaponry, and basically leaves us standing in America with our pants down. That's one analogy, the easiest way I could put it to you.
Right. Well, being a veteran myself also, I'm all about doing whatever we can do, and I'm not going to say what I would do, but I can say that even if you look at the history of our wonderful revolution, 1776, the battle of the war of 1812, everything that we've ever done has been really, yes, the sacrifice of men, strong, committed men. 3% of our population fought the British in the Revolutionary War. And at the same time, if you look through the history, even the enemy will say God was on their side. And there were so many miracles with Washington getting across the river with all his troops when the unbelievable fog came. I mean, just, you know the history as well as I do. And I fully believe that prayer is a mighty weapon. And I remember stories that I read from history that are buried because they don't want God in history books. And prayer is a huge, powerful weapon. Even if you look at the story of Esther, and how Haman was going to wipe out everybody, but all the little coincidences. That book of Esther does not even mention God at all once, but yet you see God working in all those little coincidences. I just read the book of Ruth just the other day, amazed at all the things I saw for the first time, and it's amazing. I'm a real prayer warrior, and I'll tell you, there's been, let's see, how can I put it? My initial days in my single years when I actually gave my life to the Lord, I got saved in a major way when I was in the military. But it took me years before I would ever go to church. And I actually gave my life to the Lord in that one inner city church. They taught how to do spiritual warfare. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to say things on air, but there is definitely spiritual battles out here that we can engage in and tear down these demonic strongholds that are behind these traitors, these Papa Echo Delta Oscars that are out there. And this is all going to come down, and it's going to be by man and God. We don't just sit on our couches watching TV and say, yeah, God will take care of it. No, it's a combination of both. So I hope that gets around to what you're getting at.
Well, in a way it does, because in all goodness is God if one chooses to live with that ideology. And the fact that we know it within consciousness, if you examine the facts of meditations in rooms, how it changes the electromagnetism and all these different frequencies that we understand, that we think we understand, when you have all in one doing the same thing in practice or in prayer, how the atmosphere does have changes. It's all scientifically recorded. So there is theories that back up a lot, plus the fact of God, which means the creator, the creativity, the science behind everything that makes it exist. I mean, to me, God is the most incredible Einstein the universe will ever know. And I'm not trying to put him out there on a political bias base that states him as a scientific person. But when you look at his creativity and you look at the accomplishments that man has written in the books for him, it's pretty self-explanatory. Prayer humbles everybody and strengthens everybody if they choose to use it. I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
This country was founded on the principles of God, and they do not like it. It's all into the Constitution and the Bill of Rights,
Right.
basic human rights. And they were geniuses the way they did it.
Correct.
It was absolutely
They
higher power.
reversed everything.
Even if you're atheist, even if you're an atheist, a higher power touched those men, either spiritually gave them the wisdom to know that in the future, because of what they did to them in the past, they remembered it.
Right.
And they said it that way. Now
That's why we must be voices of confidence to people, even in mistakes and error, trials and tribulations. And that's why I only try to objectively ask people fairly. This is your voice. This is your platform. I invite anybody to come on and say anything. And I appreciate you, sir. I really do. Would you like to conclude with anything?
I've got a
First
question.
of all, I really appreciate you guys bringing all this up. I wish I had jumped in earlier so that I could get a little more acclimated with what your main subject was tonight.
Well, you know what? We can always make room for you because this is a public format. It's free. I don't make anything. I don't sell T-shirts. I don't sell hats. I do everything as a cause for the people, for the freedom for people, for a better future for all humanity. It doesn't matter what country. Definitely, all you have to do is get a hold of Beth, Jeff, myself, anybody that you know that's been on one of the shows. They'll get a hold of me. We can dial down on anything you want and be creative, because I honestly think now when troublesome events like this do take effect to America, which such power, when you find out information like this of one's plans, we have to do something to help wherever we can, to just make sure we do the best we can. I guess that's the only way I can say it,
Yeah, and I agree that we really have to give up our comfort zones. I'm talking about people that are waking up now. It's time to stop just sitting at home thinking, oh, we can't do anything. Stop with that fear, that belief that you can't do anything. Yes, you can. You can get involved somewhere. There are patriots getting together more and more, developing more and more networks, fighting in every aspect. I don't care if it's elections boards, school boards, running for an office locally where all the real power is. And of course, I'm talking about something a little bit different than what you brought up in the beginning of your show, which I missed. But no matter what, you can do something and get involved. Start getting in the know. Start listening to shows like this. Get information and realize that their biggest weapon is to stifle us into inaction and put fear in us. And we are not going to fear. David went up against Goliath when the whole Israel army was shaking in their boots. He went up there and he said, I'm going to kill you this day. And I'm going to feed you to the birds. You curse my God, I'm going to kill you in the name of God. And here's David coming up there with no armor, slings a stone right into his forehead, and that big old giant goes face plant right into the ground, and the enemy went scattering like cockroaches. And that's what we're to do with this enemy, whether it's spiritual or otherwise. We are not going to give up. They are going to be the ones that are going to lose, and we are going to win. That's the way I look at it. I hope that fits into your program.
No, it does fit into the program. Jeff, go ahead.
I got a question for you, sir, from North Carolina.
All right, Jeff has a question for you, so I'm going to let you two guys go ahead.
While you were at just short and sweet, I got to be careful how I word this. I wish I didn't even say the state, because I know how corruption is. In your opinion, have you noticed that law enforcement is getting about fed up, and what percentage of law enforcement at this point, because they've been belittled, are probably vets?
I have definitely seen, matter of fact, when I was in my truck in Hagerstown at night, among some of the people that would just come up to me at night, there was one officer that was in dark uniform and vest, and he had his canine dog. He was a canine officer, and he said, "I just want to shake your hand." He said, "Well, most of us law enforcement are all for you guys, but we can't say anything." And he said, "Thank you very much." And also, I'm going to tell you, I never saw more cops in my life than I saw that first day that we went toward D.C. You would not, I don't care what president or anybody else was coming around, you never saw that many police. Within every few hundred yards, there was 2, 4, 6 police cars all on both sides of the highway. There were cops all across the overpasses, like a dozen motorcycle cops all across the overpasses. There were cops everywhere. There were military vehicles out there, and they had all the exits blocked so that we couldn't. They thought we were going to drive into D.C. and lock it down like Ottawa. No, that was not our plan. And they had stupid street sweepers in the left lane clogging that up. And then on the media, they're telling everybody that the trucks are clogging up the highway and stopping, and people were all upset with us. No, it's the Metro PD, whoever's running that, and the mayor of D.C. That's where your enemy is. So anyway, long story short, a lot of these cops, when we're getting on the highway and all those cops are on the overpasses and they were in the medians, we were waving at them. They were waving at us like, "Hey, man, yeah, we're for you too." But they're not going to, and I could tell you some stories some other time off the
No, you've told me enough. I appreciate you answering that question.
These cops were under a lot of pressure to do bad stuff, and many of them refused to do it, and they got in trouble for it. That's about all I'll say.
That's what I was fishing for.
Yeah, I understand that some things were being fed to me. I actually did a couple short lives, but the signal was terrible. With I think his name is Larry Williams, Patriots at Large. He was pretty sure he was up in Hagerstown. He might have been one of the gentlemen there that may have been selling some political statement type of clothing and so forth. But one of the things though that I want to bring up to you, and not to share hardship with America, but to enlighten them. How many millions of people do you think he drove by driving through America?
Well,
seen and unseen. How many millions of people out of these 370 million that we supposedly have in the United States, minus 2 countries that are connected to us? So let's just say 250 million people. Were you lucky enough to see 100,000?
First of all, I didn't come out of California because I don't like going into California at all. I met the convoy up in Hagerstown when they got there. I was just looking for them, and it was kind of a last-minute decision to even join it because I can't stand D.C., let alone driving around it in a truck. And it's one of the worst traffic jams you'll ever find. But let me put it to the guys that I know that did drive across. They were amazed. It was very similar to Canada. Very large groups on overpasses and along the sides of the road, and people just waving like crazy. People, whenever they had a night that they would take into a break for at a truck stop, layover, I mean, people came by the droves, giving them all kinds of stuff. And I'll tell you what, man, even the time that I was there in Hagerstown, those families that came and brought cards from kids, I would say that was the best part of anything. Those cards from the kids and mothers. And I took a video of a mom with her kids. I interviewed her, and she told her whole story. And I'll tell you what, man, she said, this is the first thing that I've seen that brought tears to my eyes, and it brought me the first encouragement in 2 years. Do you know how many times we heard those stories just like that, or ones that were even more moving? Like one guy said, this 70-year-old woman came to him crying and said, "I want you guys to fight. I want you guys to keep doing this because I had to watch my mom die in a hospital room, and they would not even let me in there with a mask to touch her. I had to watch her die from behind a glass partition." All these stories, so many like this, man. All the stories that we heard where people were so fed up and they were encouraged by what we were doing. So when you want to talk about numbers, I have no clue what the numbers were, but I can tell you this. Even in D.C., where it's hostile land, we had so many people giving us thumbs up. Yeah, there were the detractors, you know, there were a few of the ants with IFA at the end.
Right.
And you know what? We went right into their territory, and we went right into the DC minority area, and we started handing out pamphlets to our black brothers and sisters, our Hispanic brothers and sisters. There were Hispanics all over this big job site, man. They were giving us thumbs up, taking our pamphlets, you know, giving us the fist bump, blow the horn. And I'm telling you, man, we went into areas that people normally would not go. But we were a select group. We went in there, small numbers, big trucks, several big trucks. And I'm telling you, man, a lot of people got information they would have never got anywhere else because they're watching the boob tube. They don't have alternative news sources like you, like others. Okay, so we got them to look at something else besides their stupid TV.
Yeah, I put up a messenger service for when that was going on, and I had all the convoys groups sending for so we could post everything to share out as much as we could of some of the things you just described. To be totally honest with you, I mean, you can only do so much from behind the counter. Not having a truck, not saying that I couldn't be more involved politically in some way, but also having obligations to just a different scenario of things. I didn't have the capability of doing that, and I had other promises as well as the format to keep going and trying to share the words that way. I wish I could have did better. Actually, there's no excuse that I didn't. But when you have the inability and you're not able to, the great Americans such as yourself, I thank you for what you've done for that, because you stood up for us, the ones that can't. And this is where we all need to come together. Well, I'm going to let you go in case anybody else wants to call in, because we're starting to get into the latter part of the show. I appreciate you. And if you ever want to make some time with me, just contact me. Michael Anthony. It's pretty easy. The guy with the 2 first names.
Okay, buddy. Nice talking to you guys. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
Blessings, dude. Take care.
You too.
Michael, he gave me a heck of an idea.
Ideas are always wonderful.
Yeah. How far do you think the left wants to go? You know how they used to have field trips to go to the fire department and stuff like that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, give me 1 second here. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I'm fixing to probably have to move towards my.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Why can't the truckers do something similar to that to the middle schools? Take their trucks and let them learn and do an educational program and hand out flyers.
You're right. We can make a blackboard on the side of a rig. There are things. There are things that we could do if we ingeniously allow ourselves to sit down together with people and just get a little bit more involved. There's plenty more of us who could get involved. I don't understand. And look, I wasn't questioning or debating how many, but I do know that as hard and as good as it went, there were other, you know what I mean? So my focus is stronger. I know. And again, I'm not pushing anybody back from what they did, but I want to just try to push the best message that I can on this format, the same way as you would.
I think that if somebody would have said, "Okay, we're going to pop through this barricade," I think they would have moved their cars and let him in. Well, from what I just, hey, come on. And that DC mayor, that's a joke. Her and Nancy Pelosi, we both know those two are in cahoots.
I know. We have jokes all over the place. You're right. I know. We have jokes all over the place. We have like this. I mean, to step off of where we just were for just a quick minute to fill some people in on a couple little debatable things. CDC now signs off on the first child treatment, like it's an executive order mandate for, this miracle drug that they're trying to push. So, that's just come out. One thing, I don't know if it's true or false, but I'm hearing that Musk intends to ban Gates. So that That would be an enlightenment, you know,
Would
if
you repeat
Elon.
that?
It's a possibility. I mean, you
Yes.
know, when you listen to him, he's all about his own thought. He doesn't improvise on anybody else's narrative or opinion. If he's asked a question, he creates a character to the answer. And I swear to God, they hate him for it, for what he stands for. But I also think he sees the idea of the facts. And just like I say, when I hear about drones hitting Mach 20, I think Elon Musk was one of the first people that said one of our most dangerous weapons ever devised is the AI technology through the cell phone eye, who can come in, find you in a home, and explode on a dime. Because that's the design. It's the cheapest weapon on the market and the most destructive. So, you know, you hear these types of narrative, and that's why I worry so much about, you know, when I hear something like this and the intentions of what they'll use against the people of America, the citizens of America. So I thought I'd throw a couple of those in there because they are not false flags. That's what's floating out there. And, you know, you better respect it, but at the same time, you better do everything you can to protect your family and make all the best focus points that you can, as well as, you know, staying healthy and also, you know, buying smart now. Yeah, and I have a suspicion we're going to be part of the response to this in America, not just meaning me and you because we're talking here, but the fact that once this breaks a little bit more and people understand that there's a very, very possible, logical
Outcome.
Yeah, I was trying to like really. Yeah, thanks for that. We'll just go with that. They're going to be out there buying the shelves off, and of course, shelfless Joe is not going to do anything to help us. So we're going to be probably in one of those share the prosperity with everybody. We might come down to that, and again, don't forget the fact now that they're labeling, marking, and locking up fire hydrants. Why would you all of a sudden, after 100 years of the water department having fire hydrants in to service the community, decide to put locks on every one of them?
Put one on mine on my street and watch me get it off.
Well, yeah, okay. I get where you're at. I
mean, I'm just saying.
But again, they do have the abilities to self-battery signal them. So they may have some type of alarm system built in them, tamperment type of thing. So I'll just say, while you're doing it, think fast.
Exactly.
and run even quicker if you have to. And run even quicker. Hey, this has been fun, dude. Thanks for coming on tonight. What time are we? 9:01. All right, so we've been on for a little while. Let's see if there's any last questions here or anybody that came through. Dixie Love came through. Yes, you were right, Jeff. Dixie Love's here for you. Thanks, brothers. Thank you from Beth to you. Beth McCord's been in and out watching and sharing. Thank you, Beth. We appreciate it. Beth, you're a rock star. See, I said it.
Hey, Dixie's don't underestimate Dixie. I've seen some of the stuff. She's like, yeah, okay.
Dixie, I don't know you. No,
I've read some of her stuff, and I'm like, yeah, she'll fight.
I'm part of the presidents of the Women Warriors team. I'm always looking for strength. Look into my people who follow me. If maybe there's a place for you. Jeff knows how to get into some of these groups. You know, the other night after we were able to get through, I didn't give you everything by far. You would have nightmares if I sent you everything to join because all you hear is ding, ding, ding. I mean,
I learned how to silence that. That's why I stayed in the group because I finally figured out, man, I can't keep dinging all night.
I know you got to hit ignore. You do have to take a break, and I realize that. But, you know, I tried to put placements for groups out there, Christians for America, Bikers for America. I tried to create elements where people felt that they could fit, talk bikes, but also talk politics a little bit because not everybody's group allows certain fragments of conversation. They just don't. and it's like you're violating our policy. And that's one of the other sad things. But I am seeing an improvement in the patriot groups, more acceptance. And I think when we come into harsher critical times, the admins open up more. So thank you to all the admins and all the patriot and groups throughout America, the political realm, the ones who are fighting for the truth and justice system to be, restored, and for it to become better again. But again, my thought is we're in for a long hardship, a problem. And why I say that is because part of the other funded information that I got was I was told to prepare for darkness by somebody who rubs elbows with the one everyone loves. And, it was expressed to me in words. That was the message. It's going to get very dark. And now we hear this, and we know that there's darkness, and we know that there's things going on.
There's monkeypox.
And there's monkeypox. Yeah, I know. I keep sticking a banana up my nose to check. I'll leave that up to all the gangbangers or something,
Yeah,
all the LGBTQ or whatever that are into that kind of fondle game. I'm not into it.
What, the 2% of the population? Sure.
Is it that high?
I think so. There's something that I've learned from you that I didn't really realize until about a week ago. TikTok. It's a platform, right?
They try to be.
Okay. There's people on TikTok that basically do the same thing you're doing, but very hidden. Very hidden. I've been kicked out of TikTok 4 times. I got 4 accounts, and I watched a kid last night that's caught up in the system. Mm-hmm. I'm going to deviate real quick. He is in a wheelchair, in tough shape. His name is Aiden. And I watched last night about $50,000 to $60,000 go straight towards him to get him moved from Louisiana to Florida for somebody to take care of him because they've been neglected. The system in the Democratic-run city has neglected the kid because he stands up for his rights. And that's a positive outcome that I've seen on social media.
Well, you said his name's Hayden?
Aiden,
send you prayers, love, all the best of wishes that we can. We don't know who you are. I'd like to know who you are. Why don't you come visit me and let's hang out and do a show together and see if we can help you even a little bit more. Because
I'm gonna
we have to do things like that. I'm
going to connect you with somebody that basically the founder, very smart female, very smart in Florida.
I never doubt females.
She's married.
I'm not looking for her to be single. That's not my look. I don't have an alternative motive that way. I truly don't. I want to say that out and foremost. I do keep people away at arm's distance, and that can be verified. And there's a reason why. I didn't come here for frivolous bullshit. I came here to make a difference for the people. Yes, I want to have friends. Yes, I want to talk to people. Yes, I want to socialize when I have anxiety. I want to get out. I want to talk, but I don't have time in my life for what's going on that surrounds me with all this. And I don't want to disrupt someone's life who thinks they have a shot at something that they don't, because no one does. My thought is for America. That's for all men, all women, all children, all colors, all races, all people, because all lives matter. Everyone else, you don't like it, jump off the ship that you might not know that the beep, beep, and beep, and a couple other beeps to go with that. No, really, my most fun that I have is intelligence when I find that within people.
Let's say a group of us, however many people are in here now, decided, okay, let's plan an event, Michael. Let's go get a hotel room and rent a convention center to be able to go to, spend the weekend, chit chat, and talk. Sweet for bugs, and what's that?
Might be necessary when they hear my name. Yeah. Sometimes I don't know. It's really weird. I mean, I've had some weird occurrences. Weird drop off and mailbox stuff that can be verified too. Are you sure?
Many years ago, I had an insurance guy. I had to get general liability, and he calls me immediately after he checks on the state computer. He said, "I wish I could have printed this off. You would have been a very wealthy man." I said, "What was it?" And he said they were basically saying you were a very aggressive individual in business. Or there wasn't. I didn't reform to their system. And I'm not from Alabama. I'm from South Dakota.
Oh,
So,
okay. You might have heard stuff like that pertaining to me too. I mean, I've heard that. One's accomplishments should never be judged as negativities, but they seem to have that balance. And that's if someone takes the time to get to know people, get to know me, probably got to know you or anybody else for that matter, we'll probably find out that people are just as good as anybody else that you want to sit down, have a steak and a beer with and watch for UFOs or something and just have a good old time. But no, everybody's mindset is just got to go the deep dive, social anxiety, negativity. And you can't wake up every day without not knowing you're in a war. That is the biggest thing you must always remember. But it doesn't mean that you don't have other patriotic people that aren't going to be here doing the same type of job, voicing the same things that need voiced to keep us strong in ways that we can that's safe now. But there is a time, and it is now, that I can only suggest to people is that everything in your community, and I pushed this out over a year ago, matters. The changes that you can make in your own legislative parties and within your own status of governments and cities and boroughs, and you are the fix, the change, the element that could be the future for America, and you should never leave focus to that while you live a life, because we've had plenty of time to do it. We had plenty of time to prepare. We probably made some grave mistakes, but we learn, we continue. We're still here. We're still fighting. I don't think we're totally losing. I really don't think we are. There are many people doing many good things. The problem is the depth is so deep, and it's a huge fight, and it's going to continue to be one. But again, my biggest fear now is what has just came out, and how do we go about making a difference and change, and also create more of an awareness. So look for the information for May 14th. It will be important for you to hear it for yourself, not saying, "Oh, I heard it on that guy's show." This will be from concrete people. Believe me, it's coming strong. Whether you want to hear about the monkey story, it'll be back on, of course. Whether you want to hear about the plans, or whether you want to hear about some of the other things that are just being created around everywhere to keep us focused at the wrong things, I'm sure everyone can do those stories. No, Jeff, I'll say this to you, and I'll shut my mouth. Look, all good people that believe like we believe, win or lose, but have the heart and soul to try to win, I want to know them for all the right reasons, nothing negative.
Right. But I think the biggest thing is the American people have been fooled. What is the real definition of a mandate?
I don't have one because it doesn't come with a law.
Exactly. That's what I told the UPS Corporation when they tried to say, "Well, you're mandated to." I said, "Well, where does that tell me is a law?"
Right. And we've all fought about that criteria, sort of. We've all engaged within that part of the problem. I'm going to feed this to some of you guys out there too. I have a few friends that work in some of the delivery structure of America. And all these places are now starting to put in gigantic generator systems as well as solar panels. So I guess they can better deliver in the new electric vehicle syndrome phase that's coming.
That's not going to happen.
Well, it already has happened. There's been a mandatory through Vanguard BlackRock's investment saying you all go electric.
The
So
U.S. Postal Service couldn't even get their vehicles switched over. They were supposed to be switched over. I mean, the government can't.
no, I understand that, but every bit of the element means the possibility to me is this. We're already depleting our oil. If we go into a third world war, the waterways get shut down. We have no fuel. We have fuel shortages. We already have fuel shortages occurring now. All right, so they are starting now. Are they by design? Possibly. More than likely, they are. Have we been hacked before already under this administration? Well,
True.
they say that the truth is that we have been. So will this be a strategy of Silicon Valley war, so to speak? I mean, they could put us in any type of place. So if you don't have an electric vehicle, maybe you won't be able to drive. But if you don't have electricity and they take out the power grid, you're still not going to drive. So who can drive? The affiliations with the billions of dollars, while they put you in a lockdown, while the WHO takes your rights away because there's one case of monkeypox, the whole nation needs shut down. Everyone goes into lockdown. Everything or anything you need in your home will be now self-delivered because they will never go dead. I'm just saying it's a theory on my part, and it makes a lot of strength. And the reason it makes sense and strength is because they can control the narrative and allow and give allowances where they want them, as long as they control them. And they can take the control from us where they don't want us to have it.
I think Elon Musk is throwing some signs out there that he doesn't want that to happen either.
I believe that. I'm with you 100%. I think they fear him and his Starlink. I really do. I really do.
I do too.
This man could have a couple aces up his sleeve he's never talked to anybody about. I mean, all we know is these are these small little package satellites. They're not even big. These are high tech, crazy shit. And if you look in the sky now, you can see the indifferences to this new Starlink. You know, in space, we have 30,000 pieces of space junk up there polluting our atmosphere. Sometimes crashes and burns up. Sometimes comes in, crashes, causes destruction, sonic booms, and more. But it's amazing when you think about what we've got up there and what we've accomplished, when they have never told us that we've made so many roams of trips to get things up here. 30,000 pieces of space junk. That's like huge.
Russia is abandoning their space station this year.
I've heard word to that, but I don't know what the ramifications or what some of that scenario is.
It's probably because it's money. They started a war. They didn't think that they would actually get held back as hard as they did by the Ukrainian people. And we all know this is a.
But do we actually know that is the truth?
No, we don't know the truth.
We had videos where Ukrainian soldiers were laying down their arms, and which were probably our military guns, and surrendering. So that just makes me wonder, in that narrative of divide of truth, fact versus fiction, and how that works out. Really, where are we in it? Maybe he's a lot more successful than we realize. Do I think he was as damaging as what people are leading us to believe? Not really. I really think he gave open gateways for people to leave that did not want any part of what he was focusing on as his judgment day to this Ukrainian president, getting them to open up their eyes to do something more with them. And again, we don't even know the true facts behind all that bullshit. If you really want to know the truth, we don't know the truth. Is it a power grab for Alaska and more in the European, possibly?
My father warned me a long time ago, and he was a colonel in the Air Force, and he also worked at the Pentagon. I can prove that. It's on top of my refrigerator. He always said, do not believe but maybe 10% of the news, but you better research it yourself.
Right.
And that's back from the long time ago. So now you've got fake news. In 2010, Obama decided to say, no, the news media is entertainment. You can't sue them if they lie about you. Before, you could. That's why it's gotten this way. So you go
Yeah.
to 10% to 1% at this point, as far as I'm concerned. We don't know. Fox's turned tail.
Yeah.
People
and
don't.
you remind me that Fox sold.
Yeah.
But they sold to a sister corporation.
Sister corporation.
That's when they own their own corporations and they hide them amongst other of their corporations.
Yeah, I'll plead the fifth, but I know what you're saying.
Well, again,
I'm doing the same thing. I'm getting ready to do the same thing with my company. I'm hiding. When I told you earlier, when I got attached because of my political views,
right.
I'm going to have to hide.
Well, you might find out that you just might score a lot more people understanding who you are and that you have voice and you have reasonable mindset towards what you're analyzing as we're going through this.
It would be nice, but there's so many people that are scared.
This is my point of how, I really can't, of course, I've always said I can't do this as one person, but I've only grown so much. And I'm not saying that I'm not proud of how I've grown. That's why I called you guys my heroes. You put me here in this place. People have come, people have gone. Now, whether they just left Facebook, they're in jail, or just gave up on the situation, I can tell you many, 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 and I could keep saying many have come and gone. And if you go into early videos that I did, you'll see it. You won't see these same people. Some have come back to Facebook, but some are in the reality check of, I'll do it when I feel like it. So, their plan of design, as you said, is genius. They have weakened the minds. They have weakened the minds of so many Americans, and so many just are still in this cognitive dissonance where they just cannot believe the lie because it's so big, it's so real, it doesn't seem credible. The lie seems more truthful. And people go to Joe's a woman. I swear to God, Joe's the watch tomorrow. Everybody's going to be voting for Joe the woman. But no, go ahead.
The one thing I've noticed, when you go into a store to get something, it's ironic. Everybody still stands 6 feet apart. I push the envelope every single time, and I stand closer to see what people do. 50% of the people now will look at you funny. We've been brainwashed.
Oh yeah. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Now, I haven't been seeing so much of the 6 feet, and we know that that's even bullshit. And we know that the mask truly cannot keep out microscopic fragments of viruses like that. But I see people still on with the masks. I have seen them. I've been very vigilant, trying to pay attention to my surroundings, only because of all the mass shootings. And by the way, one happened in Chicago, but they did not let that one get out.
No, they did not. And I know what you're talking about.
No. You were going to put nothing past. She swears she's mafia. But nevertheless, nothing got past her. She kept the suppression down. But they just went through a real big mass shooting too. But again, I didn't see much of where people had a concern of the 6 feet. And it makes me wonder, why do you still have it on? They failed with the mask. Now they're going to try to push another mandate. CDC already has preparations on their website that explicitly says lockdown is coming. This will destroy America. I mean, the last of the Mohicans, of the people of pride of America, of the small business, will die in this sector. And let's not forget the fact that even when there was fundamental monies put out there by Trump and throughout the first part of Biden's administration, allowing things to continue as he did for the moment in time that he did allow them, nobody was, not everybody that was eligible ever received anything.
Do you think the border being wide open the way it is, we know that UN's involved with it?
Yeah, okay. Let me talk on that for just a real quick minute. All right. You got all these countries that are involved that are coming here. And how did that work out? The narration of how deep this is with all the countries belonging to the UN of 198 or now 199 or 200, because we have had a couple more countries now that have accepted their way in. They were prepped. They were prepped upon the outcome with Dominion's help that they were to tell and do everything that they could to get rid of the most dangerous and their most the people in the worst places and positions, to give them a false hope to come to America where they could thrive. So these were preparations that were fed through all those countries over there, that if they came to America and they were all handed a little bit of something, that was their pathway to get over here. DeSantis even said, you had people coming on blow-up rafts 90 miles through shark-infested waters. They were coming from Cuba. They were coming from everywhere. And do you remember when Cuba started to have that first issue of problem? All right, remember, that's a Republican. There's the big Democrat leadership there that no one agrees with. They're a republic. And no, there was a hand up to those people. We don't want a Republican more party coming here. But yet, everybody started to immigrate their way over here, and it has now continued. Where I thought we were into like a few million. Trump announced that we were in the millions already. Yes. So when we're hearing this media platform vaccinate everybody in the morning by saying last month we had nearly 300,000 come across the border. Well, that's probably tripled, but this is what they report on.
I've already seen multiple families that I know just got here, and you can tell.
Oh, yeah. You can go in your neighborhoods and in your stores by who's shopping there. You can hear the different languages. You can see the different clothes. And
look at the clothing is what's going to give it away.
Well, that was some parts of it. Some of it was the language. Some of it was the tone of the skin. And I'm not against anybody of color, but I could tell by their language, by them talking. And I go to this store all the time. I seen the sudden, but the drastic changeover. So these night missions around Christmas, where they were flying people over the United States using our military, doing drop-off landings as close as they could by buying out hotels and putting people in them, that plan is still working. They're still doing it. And you might want to ask yourself, why is Abbott in Texas not declaring war?
That's
because they are infiltrating our country at his border.
Yeah, he's shipped a couple of them up there on the bus, but he's not doing anything as an invasion. State right sovereignty that he has control of. He's been a disappointment to me.
A very big disappointment. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you know, the longer we sit here, the more we can always think of. But, you know, that is, you know, I just don't have the same likeness for him that I did at the beginning when he stood up. When he had Trump come and showed a superiority of concern for the people of Texas and the country of the United States. Because what he's now doing is initiating the problem and allowing it to happen.
Michael, I'll talk to you about something off air.
Okay.
Start a nonprofit and do the same, flip the script on them.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going.
I do. I
mean, why not?
I feel you, man. I really, really do. And I went, hey, there's Ernie DeVois. I do some shows. I've done a show with Ernie and have really, really great conversations with him. I want to thank him for coming in. He's also a butcher. He has an awareness of good meats and more. So if Ernie's a friend of yours and you have any questions, hey, listen, everything matters. Everybody's knowledge, backgrounds, jobs. We're going to come into a time and place very soon, if we're not already even there. You know, we need to know everybody. And somebody else called me today, early this morning. I get a phone call from a guy, and he's a rock star. He's an older fella. So am I older, but he's older than me. And his concern was, do you think it's time that we start talking to each other about creating stills that can create fuel? And I mean, okay, so then we need to talk to the guys who do moonshine, probably. And we need to talk to the farmers, the ones that are holding, grain that we can do this from. And I think one of the resources is corn. Am I mistaken?
That is the main ingredient, corn and sugar.
Okay, so all right, well that works for the moonshine, but does that also work for creating like fuel?
Your percentage is. You'd have to talk to a moonshiner on that. Now, you asked me about glass. I can cut glass. I know glass. Moonshine, I know a little bit, but not enough to say if you can run off of it. But here's something nobody wants to hear anything about. Do you know you can actually operate a vehicle off of steam or in heat?
Yeah, well, if you look up Bob Lazar,
yes, that's exactly who I was thinking about.
He put up the new equations to what he just did in his car, and he's not full of shit by any means. This guy's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's not no player. I mean, and one of the things, too, that I dropped the bomb on a long time ago, but nobody wanted to believe it because everybody's mind was somewhere else. They didn't want to talk Area 51 or UFOs. Part of the programs he worked in was COVID, Delta, and Omicron. I joke not. I could send you the video. He called them projects. The same thing as we got delivered with the pandemic. These were projects being produced within Area 51 and S4 that was going on about all these crash retrievals and more, and these hangars. I joke not with you. It blew my mind when I heard him say, because I listen to everything because I do a lot of platform shows. And when he said this, and it was all happening at that time, it was meant for me to hear it. I had to replay it like 3 times, Jeff. I really did. I had to hear it and hear it again to make sure I was understanding it. And I'm thinking in my head, he said this 15, 20 years ago. So somewhere along the line, everything ties together. It just cannot not tie together.
Well, my battery's dying on me, so I had to walk in.
Oh, it's okay. We're going to be going off the air anyway. When I hit my two-hour limit, it's about when I get off, which is 9:30. We went on around 7:30, so we're all good. You're good to go. But so let's go this route. We didn't get a lot of phone calls, but we got a lot of love. We had a lot of people show up in the group chat. A lot of people came and went. Some stood out really strong. We had a great conversation, a great phone call, spiritual phone call, sending his prayers and thoughts. He was one of the people of the convoys that made it to Hagerstown, that made it to D.C. He spoke about a lot of people, seeing a lot of people, viewing a lot of people, cards from children, inspirational things from people, anything people could do who felt free to walk to the overpassages and more. They were there for everybody. So let's work to do something bigger and badder. Let's make a bolder statement.
Michael, with the gas prices going up as high as they're going up, as fast as they're going up, this is all by design.
Oh, of course. They're not going to stop going up. They're going to stop going up when they run out and we go into gas shortages. And they do even in odd plates like they did in the 70s. And that did happen because I worked in a filling
remember.
Station, and I had to do it. If you came in with the wrong plate, you know, they went to jail if they really became a nightmare. It was a government mandate, executive order. It was signed executive order. I think it was under Reagan at the time. I could be wrong, but I do remember going through it and the even and odd numbers, with the exception was healthcare. It was doctors, nurses. And remember, we weren't into a catastrophic scenario of viruses. We were just in a different catastrophic place of war and having a hard time being able to produce oil because we weren't ready to be a country like,
that
Donald
was Jimmy
John
Carter.
was trying to put together.
That was Jimmy Carter.
I'd have to look it up to be certain. I'm not going to disagree with you.
And
I'm not looking for fact. I just know that I went through it, and I was an attendant who had to deal with it.
I was
and
a
you
kid.
were only
and
alive 5 gallons.
truck.
You were only alive 5 gallons at the time I did it.
I was too young at that time, but I remember my stepfather was in business for himself, and I prayed that I never saw anything like that if I was ever in business for myself. And looky here.
Yeah. And I think we're going to head back to that. I really do. They're going to make people feel like they're not having to spend as much, even though they're paying more. That's
Well,
that's that shrinkflation thing that they narrate us around.
here's how stupid people are. The casinos on the coast are packed.
I know.
People are oblivious of what's coming down the turnpike.
You're right on that. You really are. Some are just focused. I guess it's been pointed out to me strongly. If it's not affecting me, I ain't gonna worry about it till it does.
Then it's too late.
Do you have to lose your disability? Your total, all your 401k? I mean, maybe this is the retirees. Maybe they're feeling I'm gonna eat up my money or go for broke before they take me broke. I mean, it's where we're headed to. I mean, if you want to look into some of the narrations around that, check into QFS, the Rainbow, or check into XRP digital currencies. One thing I will tell you to do is, as I projected to everybody, don't be stupid to Bitcoin and digital currencies. Look what has happened to them. They had bombed. I mean, literally bombed. And everybody was working that margin. And I believe there was a point in time where working it was good. But right now, I don't think investment brokers know how to actually correlate around all this disruption. I mean, I think they have some positives, but that all reflects the bonds. Now, how do you tell people to get into bonds? And who's the security on the bond? I don't even trust the Fed.
The bonds are losing now.
Well, it's the only safe narrative to ride on. That's as they're saying it. That's the statement. And I just heard that this morning from somebody who's pretty good that navigates around us. Now, again, this could all be just an implant of information. Who knows why we're fed what we're fed? We're just in a place where it is so confusing and manipulated that most people don't know how to weigh it. Maybe the ones that are living better right now are the ones that are truly walking away, not paying attention to a format like this, or you sitting there, or me sitting here, or the people that are coming through the chat room and so forth like that, or the ones who view it. But again, we can all take a day off and go live life and still have fun. We don't have to do it on a daily. And that's why I don't understand why people don't have 1 day a week or 2 days a week to just try to make a difference somehow. Get your biker crew together and go down to the Supreme Court and ride around it for an hour and just, carry some flags that represent United States. They don't have to represent any one person. The flag represents the ones we've lost. Coming up to this weekend, I want to also salute to everybody and all my brothers and sisters that I've lost in the United States, and all your family members out there. All my best wishes to anybody that had to suffer through anything, and all my thanks to the brothers and sisters that made America what it is. I just wish we could pay you back tomorrow and say we did it. It's back in our hands and it's yours again. And, I don't want to rest until I can do that. True fact.
That idea about running around the Capitol is actually a very intelligent idea, as long as you don't let them know you're going to do it.
You're right.
If you let them know you're going to do it, they're going to shut it down
and do things. Well, I know that they would do that. And one of the things that we must do is, in unity, stand together and do a lot. And you're right. The focus of how we release what we do is not important. The fact is how we do it, and that we do it is most important. You want to do a video of it? Release it after it's done. But do something. Show representation somewhere. Leave signs on the Capitol steps that say, it's our America, not yours. Do something that's credible, that's make somebody have to bend over and read a piece of paper that says you believe in what you stand for, why you did and you left it there. I don't care if it's a maintenance guy. He's got to read it. It's a message. It goes in his head. I don't care if you go and staple notes to telephone poles or put flags like this with a staple gun on telephone poles. Yes, negative people are going to pull them on, you know?
You know the one building we have near our capital? Southern Poverty Law Center. That's the place I want to go around.
You didn't call it the Poverty Center, did you?
Southern Law Poverty Center, yes.
Oh, wow. What a name.
It's the largest. It is Zorro funded.
Oh, well,
in Montgomery, Alabama.
Well,
it's the highest security building in Montgomery.
Really?
Yes. They're the ones that come after you legally. They're the ones that something good happens, here they come.
Right.
They fought Trump for years.
Well, they've been fighting a lot of people for years to get to this point, of course. This is nothing that just happened or occurred.
It started with Morris Dees.
Pardon me?
It started with a man named Morris Dees.
Okay, he was the founder of this particular place through Soros Foundation. One of George Soros's foundations.
One of his largest law. They've been to the Supreme Court multiple times.
Yeah, they're not batting real good in the courts right now. I mean, we are getting our way. I don't know what to expect out of Durham. The one reason that I posted, it was a little strange, my posting, was I said, is Hillary now corpse? Meaning, has Durham taken and put his effects into place? Because you have these people like Sussman and Jake Sullivan and that all surround. This was the old group. This was the Joe Obama clique. I mean, it was all the radical. And I mean, we don't hear a lot of people like Suzanne Rice, and we're not hearing a lot of people that are up there making any kind of, markers for themselves, except for Jean-Pierre, who now is making, trying to make statements. But I don't know how long she's going to last up there. I don't think she's credible. And I think that this position is going to get to her as long as people, the journalists, true journalists, do their jobs right. Because there are some very, very shrewd thinking mind people, and they know how to ask really good questions that tear me apart, to be honest with you. But they have the ability to restructure some of these bad assets to float around in Washington. And they could change some of these narratives because people won't want to come out and talk to them. And I can remember a point in time in the United States of America, very seldom did we have anybody. I mean, they came out. You had a press secretary, of course, but they weren't out weekly. Things like that occurred when we went into this catastrophic event and this failure started. That's when all these other faces started coming into the picture. Peppermint the Patty and, different people. The only rock star left with Trump, that the blonde beauty queen, but I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I could see her face, but I wanted to give her a compliment because she's a very attractive, brilliant woman too. And she was always on the money, always on the mark, always had her information, could reflect that anything she had in that Kerry case of hers, she had an answer for it, and she could rebuttal anybody on any topic. This is not that lady. She does not fall within the same type of brilliance or criteria of a human being. And I'm not dogging her for any particular color because she's claiming to be the first black this or the first black gay or the first black that or the first, it's not that. I just don't see her credibility of, she just ain't got it all there. But that probably fits with Joe because they may get along alike. Nevertheless, we're over our 2 hours, and I'm getting my signal saying in 5 minutes it's going to go dead. So, everybody, thank you so much. I appreciated you all. Ernie, thank you for coming in. I know it was late after night work for you. Where is Charlie Walsh, and why doesn't he talk to me no more? I'm calling him out. It's somebody that I tried to help. I had him on the show. I tried to talk with him. He has Freedom Defenders 2022, and all of a sudden he just doesn't want to talk to me. I don't know if I hurt his feelings. I shouldn't have. Maybe he wanted to be a partner on the show every night or something. And the Voices of America are too big not to try to talk to everybody when I do it. But I don't know if anybody knows Charlie. Send him love. I'd like to know what's up, and I hope he's well, because that is a concern to me when I lose Patriots. I like what happened. Why did it happen? And why won't you respond to a simple messenger to me? I must have done something to offend them. And the only way I know how to fix somebody that feels that you may have offended them is to call them out and say, come on my show and address me. And let's fix it. Let's fix it.
Exactly.
If you're man enough to fix it, let's fix it. I'm calling you to fix it, Charlie Walsh. So anyway, everyone in America, don't judge me. I won't judge you. Thank you, Jeffrey Strong. I really appreciate your rock star. And thank everybody for also sharing us out. Do whatever you can to get us into your groups. Let your admins know that you enjoyed the show, and we support you all.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Any final words from your side, brother? It's your board.
I just want to thank you very much for doing what you're doing.
Hey, man, we just had to make it right and get you on, too, and know that we had all the problems worked out.
That's no big deal. I think that using their own weapon against them would be a very logical.
Yeah, I know.
You know where I'm at. Once I'm like a dog on a bone.
We'll do it again, though, too. We really will. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining in. We appreciate you. Have a very pleasant evening. And get all the important components from the show. Listen to them, reflect with them, and digest them. All right, guys. Take care.
Late.